Hello, and welcome to the AFSA webinar presentation on growing your business with AFSA's ITM Inspector Development Program. Our speakers today are Russ Levitt with Telgen Corporation and Jack Medovich with Fire and Life Safety America. Russ Levitt is co-author of the AFSA ITM Inspector Development Program. Russ is the executive chairman of Telgen Corporation, an international fire protection and life safety services organization. He holds a level 4 certification from NICET in fire sprinkler layout and is a certified fire protection specialist. He is a licensed contractor with 32 years of experience in the design, installation, and testing of fire protection systems. He is a member of the board of directors for NFPA and currently serves on several NFPA technical communities. Russ is a senior instructor for AFSA and for NFPA's Professional Development Series. His vast knowledge and experience. Jack A. Medovich is a senior vice president and founding partner of Fire and Life Safety America. Jack is currently serving on AFSA's ITM Development Committee. A 1983 graduate from the University of Maryland School of Fire Protection Engineering, Medovich serves 3 years as fire marshal of Fairfax County, Virginia, before joining the fire sprinkler industry 30 years ago. He has been an active member of AFSA since 1991, currently chairing its Virginia chapter while serving on several AFSA national committees and as a member of AFSA's board of directors. Medovich represents AFSA on the Sprinkler System Discharge Committee of NFPA 13, and in the past has served on several NFPA committees, including NFPA 14, 20, 25, 101, and 750. Right now, I'd like to turn the program over to Jack Medovich to begin the presentation.
Thank you, Jacob. Welcome, everyone. We're glad that you are interested in this one-of-a-kind ITM Inspector Development Program. So who is this program for? If you're a contractor looking to get started in the ITM business, this program is for you. If you're a contractor performing some ITM work but want to expand it, this is for you. If you're looking to add qualified inspectors to your team, this is it. If you're worried about the risk and liability involved in performing inspections with untrained inspectors, this program is for you. If you're looking for additional training for your current inspectors, this also will provide that. And if you're looking to cross-train and create a career path for your existing sprinkler technicians, this is also for you. So the key elements of this program: there's a nice blend of live and on-demand webinars along with face-to-face instruction. We have on-demand conferencing with students, supervisors, and instructors as you feel needed. The enrollment agreements to make sure that all parties know what their responsibilities are to make this program successful. All parties meaning AFSA, you as a contractor and employer, as well as the student. As part of the contract manager guide, which we'll talk about a little later, there are sample promissory notes between the student and employer to help you protect your training investment. To dive into the specific details of this program, Russ is going to go over the next few slides. Russ?
All right, thank you, Jack. It's great to be with everyone today. As was stated in the introduction, I'm one of the co-authors of this, but we certainly haven't developed this alone. We have a committee of a number of contractor members and such from throughout the United States, and it involves those that have large organizations, those that have smaller organizations, those that work locally or regionally, and those that work internationally. But one of the things we realize is that we all share some of the same challenges, and that is how do we take individuals and actually train them and teach them to be good professional inspectors in our industry. So in looking at that and developing the program, here's some of the basics. It's a 2-year program. So it's basically 24 months. And in that 2 years, in addition to the actual on-the-job work that they're going to be doing with their employer, they'll have 100 plus hours of face-to-face instruction. In other words, on-site with instructors, and that includes 3.5 day of hands-on work. It also includes 56 hours of on-demand courses. These are recorded webinars that they can do at their pace, and it contains, again, additional information. There's also 21 hours of live interactive webcast where they'll actually be able to interact with the instructor that's providing the information. And then it also, at the conclusion, the participants will be ready and have successfully completed their testing and requirements to obtain their Level 2 certification from NICET. In more detail, there's actually 7 training modules. So there's 7 modules that contain 54 lessons, 54 lessons of specific topics. In addition, along with that, there's 28 hours of field and laboratory time. Along the way, there are quizzes and assessments that will be used to ascertain how well they're doing and whether or not the participants are gaining the needed knowledge. And then that results in the actual taking and completion of the NICET exams for both Level 1 and Level 2. So if we look at the modules just in a little more detail to give you an idea on what we're looking at, Module 1 is what we're calling core curriculum. So it's really the introduction, and there's about a 6-month period in which Level 1 is completed. During that 6-month period, it is expected that the participants are getting their introduction into the field, that they'll be doing field work with their in-house or their employers' trainers and those that are mentoring. And while they're doing this, they will have 9 on-demand lessons that they will take, recorded lessons in which they'll receive instruction, along with 4 live and instructor-led webinars. And the topics, you see, the topics are fairly broad. We're going to talk about not only inspections and testing, but introductions to the science of fire, the different types of water-based suppression systems and non-water-based, water supplies, sprinkler systems, NFPA 25, in addition to a heavy emphasis on the inspector themselves and safety culture. And then the second and third modules actually involve face-to-face instruction, where they will actually travel to instruction site, and I believe initially those will be in Dallas. And Module 2 takes place Wednesday through Friday. There's 2.5 days of NICET Level 1 exam prep. So it'll be reviewing a lot of the information that was covered in Module 1, and they will have practice quizzes, practice tests, review everything extensively, and then the last afternoon, Friday afternoon, they will actually take the computer-based NICET Level 1 exam. They have the weekend to enjoy, and then Monday through the following Thursday, they have intensive instruction again, 18 lessons that will be taught face-to-face in a live environment, and then Thursday afternoon returning home. When we look at Module 4 takes place over about a 3.5-month period. Again, during that time, they're continuing to increase their skills in the field while also taking and participating in 5 on-demand lessons and 2 live instructor-led webinars. And here we get into deeper topics such as hydraulics, calculating water flows, performing hydrant water flow tests, dam pipe tests, fire pumps, testing criteria, and such. So again, increasing the level of knowledge. Module 5 is a period of about 9 months. Again, while they continue to work, they will now have more and more experience performing inspections and tests or assisting in that. So we go deeper into that. We have 15 on-demand lessons, and again, another 4 instructor-led webinars. You can see some of the topics, everything from advanced sprinkler system inspections, standpipes, fire pumps, and such. So in addition to understanding how to prepare for inspections and how to document the tests and inspections that they performed. And then they make their final trip, their last trip. Again, Module 6 takes place Monday through Friday. There's where they receive intensive hands-on training, doing both inspections and tests, looking at standard inspection forms, doing paperwork, and then taking their final exam on Friday. And then Monday through Thursday, again, another 3 full days of classroom instruction, looking at managing work, documentation, and then a heavy emphasis on preparing to successfully take and pass the NICET Level 2 exams, which they will do on the morning of the last day, Thursday, and then return home. And then the last 4 months, basically, we've done our NICET Level 1 and 2. We've passed that. Now, what we do, well, this gives them, as you, many of you are aware of, you have to have 24 months of experience, so they'll continue to get the experience that they need and prepare their final document and verification forms for submission, and then also to ensure that all the on-the-job training learning objectives that will come with the program have all been completed, and then, of course, their additional and ongoing continuing education. So this 24-month period is a marriage between what is taking place on the job and the experience they're gaining, along with the instruction and preparation so that they can demonstrate the skills. And that brings us to our first poll question.
Perfect, thank you. Our first polling question: are you or someone in your office actively pursuing a NICET certification in inspection and testing of water-based systems? Options are yes or no. We'll pause a moment for answers.
All right, very good, and we'll go ahead and move forward. And Jack is going to talk a little bit more about finding inspectors and the whole process.
All righty, thank you, Russ. So where are all the inspectors? Can we find them somewhere? Are there plenty of them available for all of us? We've always had options, right? It's easy to find them. Where have we found them in the past, before this program? Well, we can move the folks from our install side or our contracting side over, right? Fitters can become inspectors. They install it, so they ought to be able to know how to inspect it, right? What's the other way we find inspectors, traditionally have found them? I know. We can borrow them or take them from other contractors. You guys can steal mine. I'll steal them from Russ. He can take them back from you. I mean, that's how it's done now, right? Does any of that really help? Does that work? No, not really. When we take them from each other, that they take them from us. We lose them, we gain them. This method really gets us nowhere, especially as an industry. And can a sprinkler fitter really make the transition to an inspector? Some may be able to, but most can't. Just because they install the systems doesn't necessarily they know how to inspect them. Also, on the contracting side, who's our typical customer, general contractor or construction manager? And what type of relationship do we have with those folks? I'm on the air, so I can't say what y'all are thinking, but I'd say adversarial, argumentative. Do the GCs typically have our best interest at heart? Probably not. But on the inspection side, who's our typical customer? It's the owner, the property manager, the end user. And what kind of relationship do we have with them? It's a partnership. We work together for the purpose of life safety. We work together to make sure that the properties are safe for their occupants. These relationships between these two are completely different. So, we have the answer for that. The answer, of course, is this program. This program creates new certified inspectors. What kind of characteristics to look for in an inspector? Well, they need to be passionate about fire protection and life safety, but really passionate, period. They got to care about what they're doing. They have to have integrity, always doing the right thing. They have to have customer service skills. Okay, again, our customer is the owner, the end user. They have to be professional. They need to look it and act it at all times. These are the type of folks that we're looking for as inspectors. The duties of inspectors, well, they're company representative. They are your face, your name, they're your reputation. They have to be technically proficient for sure. They need to know what the requirements are and what is not required. Because once they stray beyond the requirements of the standard, guess what? Your liability just jumps through the roof. Safety has to be always, not sometimes, but always. This program teaches that. Communication, this is probably the hardest part for some folks. They need to talk to the customer, not just text or email. They need to talk to your office people. They may have to talk to AHJs or insurance reps who are witnessing the inspection that they're performing. They may also have to talk to occupants of the building, know what to say, and sometimes more importantly, what not to say. Again, communication is very important. So the challenge is finding these folks. We have to look at bringing folks from the outside of our industry into our industry. We need to create these. We need to find them, hire them, and then retain them. So the ITM Inspector Development Program can help you accomplish all of this. Finding the candidates. Where do we find them? Military is always a good place to find them. Military people have passion and professionalism, and most can already communicate with people in a professional manner. Community colleges, tech schools, folks with 2-year degrees looking for a career. We can also find them pretty much anywhere else in our everyday life. You should always be looking for good candidates. It could be like a restaurant server that goes above and beyond, male or female. Women make great inspectors. Retail store employee has good customer service skills. And anywhere else where you interact with people, just always have to be on the lookout for them. Once we have them, how do we know that the good candidate to apply? How do we increase the odds of this candidate to be successful? We suggest maybe an aptitude test. Your inspector should be able to pass the average high school aptitude test. This lets you know the candidate has the ability to learn our business enough to be a good inspector. Also, again, as mentioned before, verify that they have the passion or pride in themselves and in what they do. They have to have that fire in the belly. I know in my years of dealing with people, I can't light that fire. They pretty much have to come to me with that fire already lit. And how do they look and they present themselves? Do you want them to meet your customer? What would you say if they showed up looking like they look at your house? Maybe just your wife is at home. We train the candidates in this program. You can see a picture here of Russ's NICET cert. I think if you blow it up and look close, I think his certification number is 00001. I'm not sure what that means, other than he's a pretty smart fellow. Our industry certification process, for the most part right now anyways, is NICET. This program not only trains students in performing quality inspections and dealing with customers, it assists them in passing the NICET 1 and NICET Level 2 exams. We're going to have our next polling question now, and after that, Russ will show you some of the actual material from our training program.
Perfect. Thank you. Our next polling question. On how many are listening or viewing today's presentation from your computer site? You can go ahead and type in your answer in that chat right there. We'll pause one moment.
All right, it looks like we have our poll completed. We'll go ahead now, and I want to take a moment and just give you some examples of what the program looks like. And by the way, with Jack's little comment, I was 11 years old when I started in this business. So even though I've got 30 plus years, I'm still a very young man. Anyway. There was a question that came up, and now's probably the time. I just read, because this may be something in people's minds. There was a question, I think it asked something like, do we cover foam systems in the advanced instruction? No. What we are looking at is all of the things minimum that prepare or that would be expected by NICET to obtain level 2. Doing special hazard systems is a higher classification, a higher certification level. So we don't specifically address the inspection and testing of foam systems or other advanced systems. In fact, for instance, the higher level of testing, for instance, deluge valves and pre-action valves are not really a part of the level 2 certification. Although you'll see as we go through some of the bullet points and as you look at the program, when you have an opportunity to look at it more detailed, that we do go beyond what is required for level 2 in some of our instruction, but not in great detail. With a lot of that. So, for example, let's take a look here. This is the outline or the objectives of Module 1 and the first lesson. So you can see it's an introduction, so we go through the whole training program. We talk about the role of the inspectors, the applicable codes and standards and how they're used, an introduction to NFPA 25, definitions, common definitions and terms. We go through the NICET certification process because that's important, different licensing requirements, and all the relationship of the owner, the authority having jurisdiction, the contractor, talk about communication professionalism. It is a good introduction into being a fire protection inspector. Here's an example of another module, Module 2, Lesson 2, which is titled NICET Level 1 Inspection and Testing Fundamentals. And so here we go through actual NICET requirements where we have to identify wet system components and dry system components and standpipe system components, the basic visual inspection practices. How do we perform inspections? And one of the things we really emphasize is staying within those scopes and the issues and challenges that we give our employers or contractors when we do not follow the scopes of the inspection properly. How to document and the requirements for document. And then, of course, safety. As Jack mentioned, there's a heavy emphasis on safety, and there are a number of lessons that address safety issues. Here's a real quick, just some samples from a particular lesson. This is Lesson 4 for Module 1, which talks about water supplies. So here we're just introducing water supplies. You can see a water storage tank, an atmospheric tank on the left-hand side, and a hydrant that's flowing water on the right-hand side. And so every lesson will have an outline, what it is, the objective. So here in this lesson, we talk about automatic and manual water supplies. We talk about fire pumps, water storage tanks, reliable water works, private fire service mains, and raw water sources, because all of these will come into play during our inspections and testing process. So, for instance, we talk about the difference between automatic and manual water supplies. The fire pump that's shown on the left is considered, if it's installed per NFPA 20, to be an acceptable automatic water supply. On the other hand, if I've got to hook up hoses, run them through a pumper, connect those to a manual standpipe, that is considered a manual water supply. So we go through and make sure everyone understands the difference, because in NFPA 25, we're doing inspections and tests for both automatic and manual water supplies. And then we go through in more detail about manual water supplies and such. So, for instance, here we have a supplemental supply, which is our fire department connection. And obviously, if it's a standpipe, that is our water supply. If it's a manual standpipe, it's a particularly manual dry, it is a total manual water supply. We talk about automatic water supplies. For instance, and most of you know this, NFPA 13, for example, recognizes 4 automatic water supplies, elevated tanks or gravity, reliable waterworks, which is signified by the hydrant, pressure tanks, which is the slide on the right and the right, and a fire pump that's installed, as we mentioned, in accordance with NFPA 20. And so we go through this kind of information. Every lesson at about the 20-minute point of Central will have what we call checkpoints. This is just a quick checkpoint question to just kind of help people gauge, are they paying attention, are they understanding and learning. And then every lesson has a quiz at the completion. And the quizzes basically are about 10 questions for every hour of instruction. So if you have a 2-hour lesson, you're going to have 20 questions. The quizzes might be fill in the blank. They might be true, false. And all of these, again, are to help the participant evaluate how well they've learned the material. And then lastly, we have exams. Every module will have a final exam. Some of the larger modules actually have mid-module exams. These are all true, false. 4 choices. They're in the same format that NICET does their examination, so it's a good test of my knowledge and at the same time a good test of my and help in preparing for NICET. And then it just gives you a general idea. There's certainly much more information you can gain. The last thing is, this is a partnership between the contractor and manager, and Jack will explain what we actually and the helps we give to the contractor or manager of students that are enrolled in this program.
Thanks, Russ. Yeah, the contractor manager guide is given to the employer and how assists them throughout this process. It assists with the responsibilities of the employer, as well as any suggestions that we might have to protect the employer's investment with the student. It talks about recruiting the right people, which we mentioned earlier. It talks about the OSHA training that's required, verifying work experience and OJT logs. I mentioned before we have a couple samples of promissory note templates if you as the employer would decide to sign your student up for that. The 2 samples, one is obviously for the National Republic of California, and the second one is for the rest of the United States. We also have suggestions of retaining inspectors, and these are just suggestions: wage progression, continuing education, etc. I mean, as you can see, this program can do it all. It needs your commitment and involvement as well as that of the students, but you could literally be adding NICET Level 2 certified inspectors to your team within 2 years by using this program. We also have now, Jacob, I believe, a final polling question.
Perfect, thank you. Yes, our final polling question. Do you have a candidate in mind for this ITM Inspector Development Program? Answers are yes, not at this time, but maybe later, and no. We'll pause a moment for answers.
All right, very good. And then that takes us to the last slide where we have a little bit of time for Q&A. And I think, Jacob and Leslie, if it's okay, there's a couple questions that I've seen that we'll jump into, but go ahead and Leslie, do your concluding remarks, if you have any.
Thank you, Russ. I really don't have any concluding remarks. You and Jack did a great job outlining this program. And so if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask now.
Yeah,
just as a reminder, To go ahead and ask questions, just type your question into the Q&A pod and press enter.
For the sake of time, there's a few questions that I've seen that are kind of general that I thought, this is Russ, that I'll just go ahead and answer real quick. One of the things, there's been some questions related to licenses and, what state license is required, or for instance, can plumbers do this work or whatever. This program, licensing issues are strictly a jurisdictional issue. If a plumber can perform this work, if they're licensed in their properly in their jurisdiction, there's no restriction on that. What we're looking at is providing the required training so that regardless of the need, that the inspectors are qualified. Now, a number of jurisdictions throughout the country require inspectors to have a certain level of NICET certification in order to be permitted or licensed, but that is in addition to this program. I also want to emphasize, regardless of license requirements, with all of the issues that come with this, the liability, those of you who've done this business, having NICET certified inspectors goes a long ways to ensuring and demonstrating that your inspectors are qualified to do this work. Another thing, again, I want to emphasize, there's some questions about what types of systems and such are involved. This is for water-based systems, so it's basically geared around the NICET program, which is limited, again, to the systems that are covered in NFPA 25. So, for instance, hood systems or wet chemical or high and low or medium expansion foam systems are not a part of this program. We give no instruction in that, and they are not a part of the NICET program as well.
Leslie, do you want to talk about the introductory price and soft costs?
Yeah, sure. The special introductory price for AFSA members is $3,600 for the full 2-year program. This can be split up into 3 installment payments if preferred. Registration won't open for non-members until about 6 weeks prior to the start of the program.
All right, I think we're about out of time, but I would assume, Leslie, anybody that has questions or whatever, as it says on the slide, they can contact you. If it's a technical question, Leslie will ensure that myself or Jack or one of the other committee members or authors can certainly answer your questions. So get your questions in to Leslie. We're happy to answer them. I can tell you, I can speak for Jack, myself, and a number of others. We're excited about this. We do a lot of this work, and developing our own true professional inspectors, I believe, ultimately is going to be the way for most of us to go. And I think it's well worth investigating this program. I think you're going to be pleasantly pleased with what it can do for you. So that's all I had today. Jack?
Yes, same here. We've tried the other methods, and they don't work long-term at all. They may feel good when you get somebody in the door, but then you find out you're losing somebody out the back door. This way, we're bringing people into our industry and certifying them and training them the proper way. This is the answer for growing the ITM industry for all of us.
Wait, Jacob, right. I think that's all we have, and Leslie, so.
Leslie, you have anything?
No, I don't. I will. I'm seeing more questions come in, so I will be sure to email you some answers if you provided your email when you registered.
All right, perfect. Thank you. AFSA would like to thank Telgen Corporation as well as Fire and Life Safety America for this presentation. You will now be directed to fill out an evaluation about today's event. Please take a moment to fill this form out as it helps AFSA plan future web events. This concludes today's webinar. Thank you for your participation and have a great day.